Hi, my name is Crystal, and I'll tell you my story. The story of a girl who literally rolls in gold. I was born into a very rich family. My parents own a world-famous chocolate factory. In fact, it was founded by my great-grandfather, so I already know what I will be in the future. To be honest, it's a little boring. By the way, my mom and dad always knew their future as well, since both their career and marriage were predetermined. My grandparents agreed to marry off their children when they were teenagers. Fortunately, they subsequently fell in love with each other. Otherwise, they would have to suffer all their lives. In general, my parents have a lot in common, and I'm not even surprised at this. After all, they grew up together, and their families have always been close. For example, both of them adore caramel ice cream, rainy weather, yellow clothes, and gold. The latter is their passion, and it seems that they would cover me in gold if they could. You know, my parents have always seemed strange to me. Rather, I've just seen that they are not like the parents of other children. For example, if at 1 o'clock in the morning they decide to ride horses, they won't calm down and fall asleep until they go to the stable and saddle up a dashing horse. Or if one of them wants, for example, dust from Mars, there is no doubt they'll get it in the shortest possible time. In a word, my parents seemed to be obsessed with their ideas and desires. Even before they got married, they had an agreement that after the wedding, their house would be completely covered in gold. In fact, they've been dreaming of a golden house since they were kids. But their parents considered it to be complete nonsense. So it had been just a dream until they flew the nest. Indeed, when they got married and moved to their own house, first of all, they started covering everything in gold. However, my mother got pregnant, and they had to put this process on hold till better days because there were high risks that I would die inside the womb. So my mother had to lie down all the time, and my father was catering to her whims for 9 months. And even when I was born, I was discharged from the hospital wrapped up in a gold blanket and with a golden pacifier in my mouth. And my first toys were golden rattles, custom made for my parents. Shortly after I was born, my parents decided to finish what they started, and finally their dream came true. They started full repair, complete replacement of furniture, appliances, and everything else. As a result, we began to live in a golden house in 7 months. We had golden ceilings, a golden chandelier, golden wallpapers, golden floors, golden furniture, golden windows, golden bathtubs and toilets. It's scary to even imagine how much the fulfillment of their dream cost. Since I don't remember living in other conditions, such an interior has always seemed to be normal. I mean, I knew that my grandparents and other relatives had houses that were very different from ours, but at that time I took it for granted. And afterwards, when I was about 5 years old, some relatives on my father's side came to visit us with their daughter. She asked me what was wrong with our house and why it was so strange. I rushed to defend my house and said that it was fine, and she was strange. And in general, dolls like hers had long been out of fashion.
Extraño la escuela y a mis amigos.
Yo no sé cómo le hacen, pero
However, I started doubting it all deep inside. Perhaps something was really wrong with our house. Why were all our relatives and friends' houses so different from ours? And then I started going to school, and our golden den became the cause of my pain and pride. Because the class was divided into 2 camps. Some classmates made fun of my house, while others admired it. However, when I went to high school, all my classmates had already forgotten about my house, and I liked it. Well, I couldn't make excuses for the wealth and taste of my parents all my life. Once, at one of the lessons, we were studying ancient Greek mythology, and when it came to the Phrygian king Midas, I noticed that a new girl, Linda, was very impressed with his ability to turn everything he touched into gold. She seemed so funny, asking the teacher a lot of questions concerning the topic. In the end, he even told her to prepare a report about Midas at home. I decided to play a little trick on Linda, either out of boredom or out of interest. After classes, I told her that King Midas still existed, and I could even show how he made my house golden if she wanted. Linda laughed and said that he was a mythical hero and only a part of the fiction of the ancient Greeks. Did you say fiction? Let's go to my house right now. I'll prove that he exists, I said, and enchanted Linda followed me. On the way, she asked me some questions, but I was in no hurry to answer them. I really wanted to impress my classmate, and that's why I tried to leave the secret untold. When we were at my house, I realized that my plans were changing a little and getting a different, tangier side, because my grandfather's car was in the parking lot. Oh, I was so lucky. Now I'll tell Linda that this is Midas himself. She will certainly be shocked. Well, if only I knew she would be literally shocked in this case. On the whole, Linda was very surprised, even by the way our house looked, because it was all gilded, even on the outside. But when we went inside, her lower jaw dropped to her knees, because she definitely was not ready for that. I bet she had never seen so much gold in her entire life. And then my grandfather came out. He was a bald old man with a beard and a loud, deep voice. I don't remember what he said, but I remember how I whispered in Linda's ear that he was Midas, and now he would touch her and turn her into gold, like everything in our house. As soon as I said that, the poor girl screamed in horror and ran away, but not to the exit. She ran to the toilet, apparently having lost orientation in space. I think that at that moment one of my parents was there, so she hit into the door with her forehead so hard that she was thrown away right to the exit. She kept on screeching and screaming. Then she ran out into the yard, jumped over the fence, and disappeared from sight. My shocked grandfather froze and looked at me in surprise. Then he asked me to explain what it all meant. I was afraid that I would be punished for my prank. So I lied to my grandfather that my classmate simply thought that no one was home and didn't expect to see him. It seemed to be a satisfying explanation, and I thought that my grandfather and my parents believed me.
1, 2, 3, 4, can I have a little more? 5.
Then I sent a message to Linda, asked if she was okay, but there was no answer. Well, she took offense. It happened. I thought that I would explain everything later and apologize. It wasn't the case because in the evening the police came to our house. It turned out that when Linda hit the door with her forehead, she had a concussion, and she began to stutter because she was so frightened. I was so ashamed. I didn't even think that my harmless joke, as it seemed to me, could lead to such consequences. Fortunately, Linda quickly got better. I asked her for forgiveness, and my parents paid considerable compensation to their family. You know, this was the first time in my life when I faced the fact that I had to be responsible for my actions. I would even call it a turning point, because it was the first time I considered the question, what is the use of gold in general? Why did my parents turn our house into a golden crypt? Linda hit the golden door, cut her forehead, and got a concussion. It turns out that gold, like concrete or metal, can hurt and even kill. And why did my parents spend a lot of money on all this stuff? Luxury, you say? Beauty? But all this stuff doesn't bring beauty, or intelligence, or success, not to mention health, longevity, and happiness. After that, my golden cage became disgusting to me. I listened to myself and realized that the color of gold annoyed me in general. But it surrounds me everywhere. I open my eyes in the morning and see a golden ceiling in front of me. Then I go to a golden shower, have breakfast at a golden table, and eat from golden plates. Then I sit in my father's golden car and go to school. And in the evening, I return to my golden den and fall asleep, looking at the same golden ceiling. I remembered how good I felt when I visited my grandparents. At home, I was always anxious. What is the reason for such contrast? Could it be that their interior is made in soothing colors? And what about my earrings, necklaces, and bracelets presented by my parents? I realized that my reflection in the mirror looks worse when I wear this stuff. Indeed, this is the house of my parents, and they have the right to equip it to their liking. But why didn't they think about how their guests and their child, that's me, would feel? Was it really necessary to go to such an extreme and cover absolutely everything in gold? It turns out that they doomed me to be a hostage to the golden cage until the coming of age without my consent. Do you like gold? Do you think I have the right to ask my parents to make repairs and remove at least part of the gold? Give your answers in the comments, like the video, and subscribe to our channel to stay in touch with us.